I mean, nobody died this morning, very fortunately, but many people were injured. 29 people we now know were injured. It may have been a failed attack, but its ramifications have been far-reaching, haven't they? We see once again the terror threat in this country raised to critical, soldiers on the streets. Does it matter that these attacks sometimes fail?
In my opinion, it was not a failed attack. Of course, we were fortunate enough that it was not fatal. But success is a relative term. When you think about it, the most important objective that terrorist organizations like the so-called Islamic State are after is attention. They want to be relevant. They want to be important. They want to capture the world media. Since this morning, the local, the national and the global media has been absolutely hooked by what happened this morning and some other similar incidents that took place today in Paris and Eastern France, which were equally sponsored by Islamist terrorism. So, of course, we were very fortunate that nobody died this morning in London. But in the end, their mission was accomplished. They managed to be in the center of attention. And in a situation like this, I mean, we are between the devil and the deep blue sea. I mean, if we become the loudspeaker of these atrocities, effectively we're helping them to meet their objectives. And at the same time, we have no choice but to talk about it.
Are we
so
doing it wrong then?
About...
What's the solution? Are we doing it wrong, Dr. Shahi? Should we, the media, if you like, just not be talking about these things? Would that take away the oxygen of publicity and therefore, the goal?
I mean, as I mentioned, I mean, we are in a very difficult position. We are between the devil and the deep blue sea. When there is an attack in the capital, we can't be simply indifferent about it. When 29 people have been injured in the capital, we cannot be indifferent about it. But at the same time, by basically providing the media coverage, effectively, we're helping them. This is exactly what they want at the moment, because the so-called Islamic State is in the process of fragmentation in the Middle East, certainly in Iraq and Syria. So in a critical situation like this, they still want to be relevant. They still want to be relevant enough to be able to recruit kind of radical terrorists. And an incident like this, with this type of publicity, with this type of media coverage, is exactly what they need. And I'm afraid I don't have any answer for your question. I don't know what would be kind of the right approach, because simply we cannot ignore it.
Do you think, we've talked a bit today about being in a new reality where a terrorist threat is real. We've seen this terror threat raised to critical, which means that an attack is imminent. Is that the right thing to do, do you think? Should we be doing that? Should we be treating this as a new reality?
No, this is not a new reality, because if you do look at the data, actually there were more terrorism in the 1970s in Europe than 2017. There were more people getting killed because of terrorism and insurgency in Europe in the 1970s than 2017. Of course, now we live in the age of information technology. We live in the age of social media. So if something happens in south of London, everybody in the world is going to find out about it in the matter of minutes. But if we do look at the data, unfortunately, terrorism has been part and parcel of life for a very long time. And statistically, we are safer today, certainly when it comes to terrorism, than the 1970s.
All right, that's a very interesting point. Thank you, Dr. Afshin Shahi.